And welcome to Ephemera. I am fantasy author Katie Brisky.
And I'm editor Jen R. Albert. We hope you are enjoying our theme music courtesy of Alex White. Welcome to anybody joining us for the first time, and welcome back to those who visited our virtual home before. For those of you who are new, Ephemera is an award-nominated series chaired by Katie and myself.
Pre-COVID, we held events in the Glad Day bookshop, and while we await our triumphant return, it gives us a frisson of joy to have you here with us on YouTube. And we would like to begin tonight by acknowledging that the land on which I live and work is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. This land is covered under Treaty 13 and is part of the Dish with One Spoon.
And the land on which I live and work is situated upon the traditional territories of the Erie, Neutral, Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and the Mississaugas, and is covered by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant. Additionally, this land is covered by the Between the Lakes Purchase 1792 between the Crown and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. This week's theme is appropriate if you're in southern or eastern Ontario with snowstorms burying us all under the chill. Frisson is the French for chill, Latin to be cold. Frisson also refers to chills in an emotional sense. Children may have experienced a frisson, we're going to say this differently all day, a frisson of anticipation for a snow day. Adults might have experienced this over driving to work or getting the car out of a snowbank, manifesting the sudden, strong feeling of fear, definition of the word. Chills. For many dealing with homelessness, every cold front, every storm is another reason to fear, given the additional challenges and risks that they will face at that time. And Indigenous people in Canada are disproportionately affected by homelessness. Research has shown that in many urban centers in Canada, Indigenous people make up to 20 to 50% of the homeless population, though they make up less than 5% of the overall population. In some areas, the number can be as high as 80 to 90%. And these conditions stem from historical and systemic injustices. Ontario and urban centers are handling this all abysmally. Shelters are over capacity, understaffed, underfunded. They have rampant COVID outbreaks right now, of course, and that further reduces capacity and increases risk, especially to endangered and marginalized people and communities. People literally have nowhere to go. The system is in genuine free fall right now, and has been for years. But what is the city doing about it? What are the cities doing about it? Instead of investing resources into securing adequate shelter and shelter hotel space, instead of consulting local experts on the issue, Audrey Davis in Hamilton of Hamilton Regional Indian Centers, she's their executive director, has publicly offered assistance to the city of Hamilton, which they do not take. They're not consulting experts. Instead, they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars busting encampments, as we've all heard, I'm sure, in London, Hamilton, Toronto, charging people who protest these injustices or people who use their own resources to do the job that the city refused to do. I'm sure you might have heard of Khalil Sevrate's tiny shelters, or possibly even contributed to it. It's truly chilling how many people are literally left out in the cold with absolutely no options and no support. There are more than 80,000 people on the waiting list for public housing right now in Toronto alone. And the amount of public funding dedicated to these projects would be laughable if it weren't so completely and incredibly tragic. I feel frisson right now just saying that. As temperatures change, we invite you to support a group in your local community working on tackling these issues. Today I've chosen the Hamilton Aboriginal Health Center. And please do write your representatives to urge action. I'll drop some links in the chat for people in Toronto and Hamilton with the Encampment Support Network. Thanks. Oh, I can't hear you, KT.
I'm muted. Not anymore. I felt a frisson whenever I see the mute sign on. And it is very Shiver here in Ontario, which is @ for Frissons. And I was actually looking up the definition of our theme.
Oh, well, in Merriam-Webster, I hope.
Absolutely not. In the Oxford English Dictionary. And it defines frissons as an emotional thrill.
Well, my dictionary correctly defines it as a brief moment of emotional excitement, shudder, thrill. But I wonder, do you support other creatures? Or do you suppose, do you suppose other creatures feel these frissons? Creatures like Prancy, perhaps?
Well, that's a very good question. I mean, I definitely support it. And I think it is a question worth investigating. But for now, it is my very great joy to introduce our first reader. Cassandra Khaw is an award-winning game writer and former scriptwriter at Ubisoft Montreal. Khaw's work can be found in places like fantasy and science fiction, Lightspeed, and Tor.com. Khaw's first original novella, Hammers on Bone, was a British Fantasy Award and Locus Award finalist, and their novella, Nothing But Blackened Teeth, is published by Nightfire. Welcome. Thank you for being here tonight.
Hi, thank you for having me. The piece that I'm going to read tonight is an old one. It's called Monologue by an Unnamed Mage, recorded at the brink of the end. I wanted to tell you, in case opportunity absents itself forever, that it doesn't matter. That your magic is algorithmic, the mind is an abstraction of reality. That yours demands cartographic soliloquies, every verse a phrase and a phase of mathematics and momentum, every word you speak a part of the map, and you build the rules as you recite them. The mind is raw sensation, synesthetic, sinewy as sex, worthless with context, worth everything on the ledge at the end of time. Hold. We have to hold the line. That I can speak through my spells and you can't. That you have the world tessellated in amber while nothing of my magic will mark this earth, only a faint lambency, as though of candlelight staining the black gold kintsugi bowls your mother gave us. That our friends are dying, that the gods are coming, many-bodied and million-eyed, that the fucking door won't open, although we've made it keys of our bodies, keys of bone and breath and broken promises. All of this doesn't matter. What matters is the night when I first met you, and how cold the air was, and how the ice needled my breath, and how you stood there with your hangdog smile, your hair rough tangled, and the light in your eyes, a sacrosanct in its shyness, was better than anything the heavens could stitch from the stuns. What matters is that I asked you to run away with me, and you said yes. And that we kept running even after our orders came hunting for us, 7 to a coven, like we meant something, like we're bigger than 2 people making vows of the salt silver rain. That they dragged us back, bound in brambles and barons, that they made us choose between being separated and being part of the vanguard against the apocalypse. All that is of no importance. That we laughed at their ultimatum, that we said yes. That we held hands as they told us we probably wouldn't come back. That is what matters. What matters is that I love you and that I will always love you. And I won't let them have you, even I have to husk myself of all that I am and splinter the universe again. You're mine and I am yours. And what are gods to people who have seen the continents fold up like paper planes? I made you a promise the first night of our expedition. Do you remember that? Lying on our backs, blankets spread over the brittle grass, a charred skein of stars strung up above us. We laid there, counting the constellations as they vanished into the black, our hands intertwined, your hair still dark. I told you I'd always protect you. You laughed, like there was dad or crying. You said you'd keep me safe too. I remember the blacksmith and the curls of her long hair, like wedding rings, forever threaded with lilac. And I remember the bard, the cook, the huntress, the knights who came last, their armor gilded with rust, the Lord's body held safe between them. There were others too. I remember that. Like the crossbowmen, their skin mantled with scars. Like the priest who wore burgundy at his collar instead of white. But their faces were taken along the names of our friends, eaten. Nothing but grit and the teeth of those numinous bastards. Don't falter, please. This is a kind of magic too, you know. The bard told me this. Resurrection by way of oration, every retelling a species of necromancy. And if some of it fails to be beautiful, if some of it crooks from the truth, that doesn't matter. Stories are meant to adapt. I used to wonder what was the bard's purpose, if she had a purpose. If there was any meaning to putting music to a massacre, if it would be better to just forget. Easier, safer to bury our dead in the decay and pretend it was always like this. She asked me one night what would be the point. If we were just going to forsake what we loved, forget why we fought, forswear that chance that we might make it. Although the sky is unmade into fractals, why not just let the gods win? Without stories, there is no memory, no trajectory to illuminate what came before and what might come after. Without stories, there can be no hope. The fact that the gods don't understand this is what will ensure we'll find our way home. Because nothing is just fact. And though the world is cinders, if enough people believe we'll make it, there's still soil to grow miracles. Yes, I heard that scream too. How could I not? But don't look back. That's not our part of the story. Ours is the chapter engrossed with the task of holding our ground. Be careful, beloved. See how they've crept the borders of our barriers, their villi seeking cracks, seeking the gaps made by our grief. Let me help. There. I'm going to marry you when we survive this. I decided this on the road between here and the ruins of the last elvish capital. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. It never seemed like the right time. But you might as well know now as opposed to later or never. I intend to marry you by salt and silver, with the sea as our witness and the mountains as our minister, by the shore at the edge of the world, by the house in which all this began. That I plan to wear white, and in my dreams wear silk. And though there might be nothing but handfuls of hope to hold in the cup of my hand, I intend to make you a home and a hearth. That smile of yours, the light in your gaze, the way you look at me even now, while the universe buckles under the weight of its depths, that is what matters. You are my story, its beginning, its happy conclusion. More than anything else, more than this world, more than this life. You are what matters. The door is open. I think someone sold his soul to shatter that lock. Are you ready? We can do this. Take my hand. And we're done.
Thank you so much. Oh man, so what was really thrilling for me is like the virtual green room here is just spellbound. And just thrilling imagining everyone, all of us here and out in the audience in our own spaces, but sharing all in this moment that you were weaving with your such beautiful words. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you very much.
Definitely chills. Oh, bad news.
Oh no, what?
I asked Prancy, and he's never felt a frisson at all. Not once. Not ever. Apparently, it's harder when you are made of bones and friendship.
Well, maybe we can help our skeleton dear friend. You know, music is a good way to get frissons. I shiver every time I hear the finale to Les Miserables. Works like a charm. Because it starts really quiet and then it goes really loud and it's exciting.
That does it. And for me, it's pretty much anything by Florence and the Machine, and they do that a lot. Also, fun fact, did you know that musical chills may arise from nerve fibers connecting the auditory cortex, the part of the brain that processes sound, to the anterior insular cortex, a region involved in processing feelings?
Whoa! Audience, do you get musical chills? What music triggers frissons for you? Drop your best pieces in the chat or tell us on Twitter.
Well, I know some music is sure to give Prancy some frissons. Please join me in welcoming tonight's performers. Avi Silver is a speculative fiction author, Sawney Cycle #1, an editor, Augur Magazine, and a Riesling-nominated poet. Find their short fiction in Common Bonds, an aromantic speculative anthology, and their poetry in Strange, sorry, I lost this. Strange Horizons, I know that one, and Uncanny Magazine. In 2018, they co-founded the Shell Project, an award-winning indie arts collective, and have not stopped world building since. They are currently working on their first full-length book of poetry funded by the Canada Arts Council. That's amazing. For more information, visit MX Avi Silver. For lizard pictures, follow them on Twitter, the screen beam.
And Irene Zhong mythologizes how we relate to each other and the ever-changing world. They inhabit a delicate chamber folk sound world that draws on Hakka Chinese melodies and Western art music. Irene took part in Arts Access Victoria's Music Makers Mentorship Program under the guidance of Parvin. Irene was shortlisted for Music Victoria's Amplify Award in 2021. Irene is the composer of the Shell Project, a fantasy world-building initiative spearheaded by Sienna Tristen and Avi Silver. Right now, Irene is working with Nicholas Gray as dream pop duo Between Mirrors. Their first EP, Blue Dreams, will be released in early 2022. Amazing.
And Sienna Tristen is an author, a poet, a literary organizer living in Treaty 3 territory who explores queer platonic partnership, the non-human world, and myth-making in their work. Their award-winning fantasy novel, The Heretic's Guide to Homecoming, came out from indie arts collective The Shell Project in 2018. You can find their poetry in Augur Magazine and Plenitude, and their chapbook, Hortus Animarum, an herbal for the queer heart, is forthcoming from Frog Hollow Press in spring 2022. I believe it was award winner. When the Sun is Up, they work with the Word on the Street Toronto to showcase the coolest Canadian and Indigenous literature. They are currently working on their second novel. Take it away, friends.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Avi Silver. This is Irene Zhong, and this is Sienna Tristen, and we are here tonight to play you some tunes and bring you the astrological forecast. So we are going to be starting this evening with a song that gives us all a frisson, frizzle, frazzle, frazen, if you'd like. This is Aurora's Running with the Wolves. Go row the boat to safer grounds, but don't you know we're stronger now? My heart still beats, my skin still feels, my lungs still breathe, my mind still fears, but we're running out of time. echoes in my mind cry. There's blood on your lies, the sky's open wide. There is nowhere for you to hide, the hunter's moon is shining. I'm running with the wolves tonight, running with the wolves. I'm running with the wolves tonight, I'm running with the wolves. I'm running with the trick or treat. What would it be? I walk alone, I'm everything. My ears can hear, my mouth can speak, my spirit talks, I know my soul believes, but we're running out of time. All the echoes in my mind cry. There's blood on your lies, the sky is open wide. There is nowhere for you to hide, the hunter's moon is shining. I'm running with the wolves tonight, running with the wolves. I'm running with the wolves tonight, running with the wolves. I'm running with the wolves tonight, running with the wolves. I'm running with the wolves tonight, running with the wolves. A gift and curse, they track and hurt. Say, can you dream in nightmare scenes? A million voices inside the dreams where hope is left so incomplete. I'm running with the, I'm running with the wolves. I'm running with the, I'm running with the, I'm running with the, I'm running with the wolves. Running with the wolves tonight. I'm running with the wolves. I'm running with the wolves tonight. Running with the wolves. I'm running with the wolves tonight. Running with the wolves. I'm running with the wolves tonight. I'm running with the wolves. I'm running with that. Thank you, everybody. So, we're going to say a little hello to everyone else. So this evening,
bye to Sienna.
And bye to Sienna. I thought you were staying. We're going to say goodbye to Sienna. I'm in trouble. So Sienna's out, but we're all still in. And right now, maybe you're feeling a little bit wonky. Maybe you're feeling like times are a little bit out of control. It could be because of everything astrological going on right now. We have 2 planets in retrograde. We've just switched signs. It's all a little bit messy. So tonight, dear ephemeral beings, we hope that a Frissons, a feeling will go through you as you hear tonight's astrological forecast. So, let us begin. Aries, think back to the swing set. Do you remember? The creak of the chains and the moan of that ancient plastic seat installed when someone was a child before you were a child? Your father, perhaps, or the town hierophant, or your neighbor's neighbor's sister. Long has stood this shaky architecture, these splintering planks. Many children have they carried. Return to it. Carry your body to the mysteries that carried you and take your seat. Kick off from the dirt, pump your legs, dig your softened fingers into the handholds, rock, rise, return, let go, lift off. You always knew this was a machine made for flying. Taurus. Hello again, young maker. Elbow deep in the earth just to pull out a cake, shoulder deep in the baking just to pull out a mud pie. You need to need something worth needing, to coax a million tiny organisms into a single act of love. You say, it would be so easy for us to love one another. You say, this should be simple. You stand over your oven, your sandbox, your hearth. You use your hands like they were made for you, and they were. And when the others doubt, you hold out your creation, and it is good. It is good. Gemini. Which is sharper, the edge of his blade or the corner of your eye? It was you who caught the one who walks between worlds, who snatched him up between your delicate fingers. This is the thrill of a portal fantasy, of a stranger in an unstrange land, of the opportunity to ask every question that's been caged behind your unearthly straight teeth. Is your world shaped as mine? Did you find what you were looking for? Am I the miracle to you that you are to me? Oh, to have the wonder of a twinning spirit, to have him close to the dark side of your heart, to be everything all at once. Cancer. Step into yourself. Find what hides in the corridors of your chest, and then give chase. Often have you been the watcher in the tower. Often have you been the one held responsible. Kick off your shoes if they can't cramp your feet. Tear off your cloak if it burdens your shoulders. The stars ask, how much longer do you intend on pressing down upon your own neck? For the sake of whose mother do you continue to play the role of the eldest child? There are things in this life that we suffer for long and slow. You are faster than all of them. Leo. Despite what the myths suggest, your ascension is not, in fact, the best day of your life. That is a quiet thing, born on the coattails of a summer afternoon when you are left alone to your thoughts. The wind blows your hair from your face and you squint against the sun, feeling the warmth in the entirety of your body. It lights a spark in you, makes of your body a lantern, and you know suddenly you will be able to guide, to grow, to lead. Eager thing, no, it has not already come to pass. Revel now in your moment of uncertainty, in the second and third best days. There's pleasure in the not knowing. There is grace in the stumble to the top. Virgo. Trust that I am not mocking you when I say it plain. You were right all along. There it was, that beloved pearl of instinct in your diver's palm. There it was, an inkling of truth at the bottom of your well. Is there any greater joy than vindication? Sweet thing, you have been sense-making and knowable from the start. There has been something honest here. And when trouble blows your way, as trouble is wont to do, you may stand your ground. Tilt your chin to the sky and banish all doubt. Know the glory of knowing it all and forgive yourself for knowing nothing in turn. Libra. Imagine to see a perfect victory in your lifetime, to rejoice among friends and neighbors, to clasp hands and celebrate the healing of this world. The trees grow back. The water is purified. All you heard on the news about the end of it all, that too has ended. Instead, a beginning, a miniature utopia in your own backyard. You breathe easily and openly, and you take it for granted. You are spoiled by a lifetime of seeing nothing spoiled before your eyes, and your children are kind even still. Ask yourself, is it a miracle or simply a possibility? Scorpio. When you return to your village with the head of the beast, it begins speaking. The sound is muffled at first, quieted by the muslin sack the head was stored in. You pull it out in surprise, and the first thing it says is, "The bag was so soft against my cheek." Why not burlap? Everyone else has used burlap, which scratches. This head, it is lovely, jagged and toothed, handsome in its monstrosity. "I didn't want to hurt you," you say, stroking a thumb over its eyelid. The thin skin there flutters, folds shut, and you continue your delicate touch, wondering if you could soothe it back to sleep. Wondering if, when it's finally your turn, your carrying case will be half as gentle. Sagittarius. There are very few prophecies that make anyone holler for joy, but your voice is still echoing down the expanse of the valley. You couldn't contain it when you got the news, couldn't contain yourself any longer in the bonds of quiet and civility. Wonderful things do make us wicked, do make us into dire wolves and rattlesnakes and crows. This is the shape of freedom, love. Now, to pack for the journey. Your blades, your book, the skin you were born in, feathers for your feet and a lantern for your heart, a pen for your teeth and parchment you won't write home with. This is your moment. Be in it. It's been waiting for you. Capricorn. We found it for you. Your favorite old chair, cushioned and regal with a pattern fit for grandfathers and kings. Long have you loved this chair, and long has it cradled you. You who will not be carried by anyone. You who insist it can be done your way and will. From what I heard, the chair walked away a fortnight ago, carried its stumpy legs out through the side door while your back was turned. You were inconsolable. Wouldn't you know it? We found the chair in an open field, taking in the breeze. We found it in the moonlight, gazing up at the stars you had forgotten the names of. It called for you. How it called and called. Aquarius. In every moment, a mystery. In every hum, a hint. You've never found a puzzle you couldn't navigate through, never met a challenge you couldn't catch between your palms. So imagine the glee, fearsome and unbridled, when you discover a thing you cannot understand. A creature with too many legs, too few eyes, a question you barely get the shape of your tongue around. It's coming, my friend, the thing you cannot comprehend, the salve to your boredom, this misstep in the pace of your daily life. Just around the corner, just behind the fridge, hunting you, hoping. Be followed, be curious. Pisces. And again, you are asked to become young, to walk the world in the shape of a child. Too small for the roller coaster, too big for the help you're asking for. What a nightmare to be forever the wrong size, to fit only in the places you're not supposed to be. Listen, beloved. There is whimsy in the cracks of the cabinet. There are fairies in the trunks of the trees. Press your ear to each forgotten corner. Touch your cheek to the cool stones you pull from the river. In a world of locks, there must be many keys. Turn them and bear down on the door. Dare to see what awaits the ones who simply won't grow up. Thank you. Happy traveling and good night.
Thank you. And quickly, we've had a few requests on Twitter and in the chat. Are there recordings of the three of you that people can listen to?
We will record.
Excellent.
For you, we'll make it happen.
For $7,000. No, we're
Worth
gonna
it.
be doing some recordings soon. Yeah.
Excellent. And
And you
well,
can find it on
wait, of
YouTube
course,
as
this
well.
stream will live on the YouTube, so you can always come back and re-listen.
Mhm.
And Irene's EP will be out in the spring,
Yes.
so you can listen to them.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you. And well, surely after all of that, Prancy must have felt a chill.
He is not sure. Maybe he can experiment with some recommendations from our audience, like The Merry Ethan Carter by Stan Rogers, Ladytron, Destroy Everything You Touch. A lot of people agreed with Les Miserables.
Or Winter Song by Ingrid Michaelson and Sarah Bareilles, or In the Backseat by Arcade Fire. And you know, Frissons can come from fear as well as excitement. Boo! I tried.
Well, since we're a literary group, maybe we should talk about literary chills. In the chat or on Twitter, tell us the scariest story or book you've ever read.
And then tell us why it's scary stories to tell in the dark.
But seriously, scariest story or book that you've ever read, what gave you chills?
And while you all shiver in the chat, it's my very great pleasure to introduce our next reader. Sue J. Sokol is a social rights advocate and a writer of speculative and interstitial fiction. A formal legal services lawyer from New York City, she now makes Montreal's your home. Sokol is the author of 3 novels, Cycling to Asylum, 2014, Run Jay Run, 2019, and Z, 2020. And your short fiction and essays have appeared in various magazines and anthologies. When Z is not writing, battling slumlords, bringing evil bureaucracies to their knees, I like your work, and smashing borders, Sokol curates and participates in readings and literary events in Canada and abroad. Welcome.
Thank you, Katie. And thank you, Katie and Jen, for inviting me to this. This is so exciting to be here tonight. I'm going to read from my 3rd and most recent novel, Z. Z is actually a work of, it's a young adult novel, although it's based on a short story that was written for adults. So like most of my work, it's a bit hard to characterize. And I'm going to read right from the beginning of it. I guess the only thing I'll say is for those who are listening who are Canadian or not American anyway, that Z is the last letter of the alphabet rather than Z, as we say in Canada. So just keep that in mind. Okay. Z is running harder and faster than she's ever run before. She's already soared past the kids her own age on the track team, but it's not enough. Z accelerates head down until she passes the fastest of the 16 and 17-year-olds as well. Even then, she does not dare slow down. She pushes herself harder, further, the sound of her own heartbeat loud in her ears. A sharp pain shoots diagonally from her right hip to her left shoulder. Z ignores it, squeezing out another burst of speed. She takes a quick look over her left shoulder. The others are far behind. She's running alone now, well ahead of everyone else. Yes, Z has passed them all. Their bodies, anyway. But their words, their emotions once again catch up to her. They mercilessly shove themselves into her unprotected mind, pushing Z's own thoughts and ideas violently out. Z's heartbeat accelerates, beating a panicked rhythm in her chest as she tries to clear her head of them. She sucks in another lungful of air, forcing her exhausted legs to run still faster. The world is spinning. Z is running so fast that she can't feel her limbs anymore, can't even feel the movement of air against her face. Yet somehow, the voices of the others find her once again. It hardly seems to matter how far and how fast she goes. Z suddenly realizes with a degree of certainty that leaves no room for hope that she will never truly outrun them. Even so, Z refuses to give up. She will not stop running, even if it kills her. Chapter A, Z's birth. Picture a small room with a hospital bed and a fetal monitor, lavender oil overlaying the scent of disinfectant, new age music playing in the background. The midwife, white, late 40s, speaks encouraging words to the expectant mother, while a youngish Black man in horn-rimmed glasses stands by the bed, wringing his hands. Beside him, a petite, dark-eyed woman of around 30 expresses her own concern by shooting the midwife looks that are practically menacing. In the center of all this is Emma, pale with frizzy reddish hair, head thrown back as she pants and pushes and wishes it were over. Now, imagine the peace of an undifferentiated oneness. And then, after a timeless interval, chaos. Reality cracks in two as an intense pressure bears down. It is overwhelming, unbearable. When relief finally comes, it is accompanied by an attack on every sensory front. Noise, light, cold. A confusing flood of feelings threatens to splinter the small new consciousness into a million disparate fragments. To keep from drowning in this flood, the child takes a unique path. She opens up and lets it all in. Chapter B, Infancy. The grown-ups name the baby Z. This is how it happens. After 44 hours of labor, the midwife, seeing signs of fetal distress, calls in the doctor. To distract herself from her worries and the pain of her labor, Emma, a tournament Scrabble player, slowly recites the alphabet. Just as she gets to the last letter, the baby slides from her womb. Z has arrived. From all appearances, Z is an ordinary baby. Perhaps it isn't so strange that the newborn, large and healthy, sleeps through the first night in the hospital. Emma isn't so sure. She's given to understand that most babies are incapable of such a thing until they're much older. Emma tries to shrug it off. She doesn't want to be that type of parent, the type who thinks their child is somehow special. The next night, Emma awakes from a nightmare to Z's panicked cries. She'd been dreaming that her baby was still and cold beside her. Though Z is easy to soothe once Emma herself has calmed down, She nevertheless gives in to the suggestion that Z be sent to the nursery. Emma doesn't want her babies crying to bother others in the maternity ward. Chapter C and D, daycare. Of course, Z does not remember those earliest moments. Her first clear recollections are from daycare. Mama Z make their way down the sidewalk. The sun lights up Mama's hair and plays hide and seek with Z's toes. It is warm and good. The stroller rolls, Mama Z sing about the wheels on the bus going round. Then the shadow of the converted church that houses the daycare falls upon them. Mama tenses, Z moans. Mama coaxes Z out of the stroller and up the stairs. Mama's mouth says, fun, play, friends, but inside her is worried, guilty, sad. Then relief when Z is deposited with her teacher. Mama pretends smiles just before she turns to leave. The first time Mama Z separate, Z cries until she passes out. Even after Z is able to temper this reaction, she still finds it hard to keep from slumping to her knees, a small, helpless keen escaping her lips. It is Z's teacher's disapproval, worry, that push Z to play and sing with the others, pretending at engagement, at fun. After a while, the pretense feels natural, almost real. And then later, separation from Z's daycare friends becomes almost as wrenching as the earlier ones with Mama. Daycare is a chaos of noise and movement, thought and feeling, but it's Billy who stands out. The biggest in their class of 2- and 3-year-olds, his feelings are larger too. Happy, sad, excited, angry. But more than anything, Billy is hungry for food, for attention, for new things. He stuffs his cheeks with his sandwich, then eyes Z's meal with a painful longing, a longing Z feels compelled to satisfy. Z's lunch is different from her classmates. Each day, Mama prepares a vegan meal for Z to bring to daycare, while the others eat food that the daycare provides. The teacher helps Z open the small containers Mama has packed. There are chickpeas, apple slices, raisins. Z likes the way the foods are shaped, nothing too big for fingers to pick up. Billy is watching, trying to imagine the tastes. This day, Z has something new, a whole tofu hot dog. Billy stares, his fascination turning to horror, but the teachers don't notice. It's left to Z to figure out what to do. Afterwards, in the office, Z stands with Billy and looks with his eyes at the drawings taped to the wall. Cats with triangles for ears, dogs with sausage bodies and short little legs. Then Z studies each item on the desk, connecting them to the names that come into her mind. Stapler, Scotch tape, Band-Aids, mouse pad. Z listens as they telephone first Billy's father, then Z's mother. They have taken Z's shovel away, but at least Billy is no longer crying. That's it. A little teaser. I should have probably just mentioned that what this story is about is it's about finding chosen family and non-traditional family and empathy, both the power and the limits of empathy and the unfair burden that some carry to hold empathy. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Found family and empathy is always a surefire way to give me frissons all down my spine. And I really love the way the chapters are lettered. So, that's a really clever touch, and it works so well with the theme. So surely after that amazing reading, Prancy has felt some chills.
Well, we have some pretty good recommendations here. The Witch by Shirley Jackson. The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. Second, a short story by China Miéville. Lots of creepiness. From Prancy's Skeleton Deer, though, it's going to be pretty tough to give him chills.
Okay. I think we need to pull out all of the stops. If our theme is frissons, We need to talk about ASMR.
Okay, we will definitely
Yeah.
take your, oh, we'll take
Yeah.
your recs for artists, role plays in the chat on Twitter.
Yes, and in addition to that, let's see, things I have around. We've got, I have a hairbrush that you can't see because it's blurred. There we go. I have a crinkly cat joy,
Oh, those are fun.
and I have some tissue paper. So I'm sure one of those would help Prancy feel some frissons. But which one?
I think we need a vote, actually.
100%. We're a very democratic reading series. So should we try the hairbrush, the cat toy, or the tissue paper? You can vote in the chat or on Twitter.
And while you all do that, I am very pleased to introduce our final reader. C.S.E. Cooney lives in Queens, New York. She won the World Fantasy Award for her collection Bone Swans in 2016, and her new collection Dark Breakers comes out from Mythic Delirium in February 2022. Her forthcoming novel, Saint Death's Daughter, will be out with Solaris in April 2022. Currently, she and her husband, author Carlos Hernandez, are co-developing a TTRPG about Inquisition and aliens called Negocios Infernales. Claire, welcome.
Hello, hello. I just wanted to show you the very pretty cover of Dark Breakers and the very, very, very pretty cover of Saint Death's Daughter. And I love them. And I'll be reading from Saint Death's Daughter. So, Frissons. So, in this scene, it's winter. So, it's the cold frisson. She's under kind of an enchantment that makes her feel very pleasurable sensations from someone, so pleasurable frisson. And she's also scared to death because this person with that enchantment is her mortal enemy. So scary frisson. What you need to know, I guess, is that the main character in Saint Death's Daughter, Miscellaneous Stones, but we'll just call her Lainey, is heading into enemy territory. She wants to rescue her 7-year-old niece, Sacred Datura stones, from her enemy, who's the Blackbird Bride, or Branfiacna. And the Blackbird Bride has a very scary enchantment ability. She's enchanted, in fact, a necklace that Lainey has voluntarily put on that makes Lainey feel very, very swoony towards the Blackbird Bride. But this is very dangerous. The Blackbird Bride would like to kill her 7-year-old niece and take Lainey as one of her spouses. And sometimes this feels really good and sometimes it doesn't. Now, Lainey's special magic power is that she's a necromancer. So she has her regular voice that she speaks to the living with, and she has her deep voice that she speaks to the dead with. And I don't know that you need to know anything about that other than adventure into enemy territory under a fell enchantment. When Lainey, sweating and breathless, emerged from the gloom of the staircase, she felt like she was stepping into the sky. A blast of wind drove her back between two merlins of the wall, and almost right through the embrasure. But a pair of strong arms caught her, plucked her out of Plummet's reach, hauled her upright, held her. Lainey's tenuous hold on herself wavered. She stared up in passionate admiration. How had she forgotten the Blackbird Bride's magnificent height? Or how slender, how strong her body was. 7 feet at least, and straight as the pilum she wore in a sheath at her back. Alas for the cuirass that hid from Lainey's covetous gaze the soft plumage covering Branfiacna's breast. She wished to lay her head upon it and be gathered snugly in. But the black leather scales of the armor were unyielding, the plated terouges at shoulders and waist, no pillow for a lover's head. Branfiacna's close-shorn head was fitted with a bronze galea, its crest holder rioting with purple-black plumes. Winged cheek pieces accentuated her high cheekbones, their silver-gilt steel no brighter than her eyes, which were fervent and unblinking as they stared down at Lainey, who swayed in her arms. Condor! The Blackbird Bride's unmistakable rasp seemed louder than the howling night wind. To Lainey's ears it set up a sonorous echo, though the working part of her brain knew that this was a fascinator's trick, and not an acoustic phenomenon. The sound of it froze every courtier of Brackenwild and Rook who were present, as well as every bright knight and wizard of the Parliament, so that they stood, unmoving, inanimate, as if stuck to a ward. Lainey found her voice. Branfiacna? But this time it wasn't just her speaking voice she found. Her deeper voice unlocked beneath it, the doubled tones both reassuring her and clearing her head. She heard the howling of the wind again, and was once more able to process that those she had thought frozen in her periphery were in fact flickering with restless twitches and significant glances and exchanged whispers. Mostly, though, her attention was on the Blackbird bride, whose face had broken into a wide smile at the sound of her name on Lainey's lips. With a loving squeeze of Lainey's shoulders, Branfiacna exclaimed, "Welcome! At last welcome! And, wearing our token." Her cupped hand moved to the back of Lainey's neck. She adjusted the golden chain, smoothing out a few imaginary kinks, and polishing a dull gem against Lainey's coat collar. Her warm fingers sent tingling waves of pleasure all the way down Lainey's spine, and further. "I carried it with me," Lainey's surface voice responded, thin and distant, as her deep voice dropped down and down and down. "I kept it in my pocket always, and remembered you." That she certainly had. And if Branfiacna chose to take her words as a compliment, it would only work in Lainey's favor. She did. Another radiant smile flashed out, making all the rookish wizards on the rooftops sigh with delight. A wave of intense euphoria washed through Lainey's body as well, starting in the gold around her neck and spreading everywhere. Pleasure such as she has not known since midsummer, when she and Canon Lear took each other for lovers. As the sensation slithered to their deliciously drawn-out conclusion, Lainey was left feeling wrung out and wobbly-kneed, throbbing at all her pulse points, yearning for another chance to please her bride. She used the last of her unburdened few seconds to glance around the rooftop, seeking the one person she had come here for. Braziers were lit at intervals upon the merlons, dazzling her eyes. But in all the play of light and dark, amongst all the milling dozens crammed together on the roof, she did not see anyone who looked in the least like a captive child. "Beloved Condor." Her attention snapped back to the Blackbird bride. Branfiacna was again standing too close, her long arm tightening around Lainey's shoulders, and with it her formidable will. Lainey's eyelids fluttered shut. Without meaning to, she leaned into Branfiacna's embrace, whose leather epaulettes creaked like small things being trodden upon. "Soon, tonight, Condor, it is our dearest hope that we shall at last induct you into our Parliament. You shall be our 4th-and-20, our final wizard. Our joy at the sight of your face will become the joy of all Rook and Lyriat, amplified 12-fold when we commence the covenant of Rooks. What a bird you shall make." Lainey's knees were buckling under the onslaught of Branfiacna's voice, from the fingers that gripped Lainey's neck, from the hand that ran up and down her spine. However, she managed to keep the bassoon-like drone of her deep voice tolling out from the bottoms of her feet. "Tell me of this rite," she gasped. "The covenant of Rooks?" Branfiacna asked. "It is not so very complicated. You shall come to know it intimately soon enough. We shall pluck a feather from our breast, and sew it to your own, with thread spun of our hair, dyed in our blood. Then you shall be named Condor in truth. Your old name shall be erased, and with it your memory of all that came before. You shall be born into my arms anew. That lone feather shall multiply till it becomes a tunic fitted to your form. It will keep you warm and give you wings. You need never take it off. You shall never need more than that to cover you. Unless, of course," she laughed, "you wish it." In another world, Lainey thought, I would have lain myself at her feet. I would have kissed the silver rings on each of her long toes. I would have surrendered. "I know you are fond of bright colors, beloved," Branfiacna was whispering, stroking the rainbow yarn of Lainey's scarf and cap. "Rejoice then in your coming shape. Condor's head is flayed and naked pink, a true and noble pink. Condors, yes, your new wizard marks will reflect this, she laughed. Such joy to think of you arrayed in Parliament colors, such striking black and white feathers, such a royal neck ruff, such a wingspan that will overshadow the sun. All this shall be yours, and you shall be ours, and I shall know true happiness again. But one thing more we must attend to. The Blackbird Bride raised her voice for everyone on the roof to hear, amplified its resonance until it once more drowned out the wind. But one thing more, before we enact the covenant of Rooks and take you for our own. Now it was coming, what Lainey had been waiting for, what she had been expecting from the start. Still the icicle chill that spiked down her spine startled her. She mourned the loss of warmth, of delight, of her desire to surrender. But even as she mourned and grew cold, Lainey's deep voice redoubled. She could feel the dark prayer of it working down in the depths below, in the crypts of the castle and beyond, in the catacombs of Lyriat proper. But one small matter, the Blackbird Bride said, coaxingly drawing Lainey's arms out to their full length as if in a dance. One last boon we beg of you, my condor, before our union is complete. We did want this thing done before you came to us. We wanted nothing to distract you or distress you at our celebration. Alas, for unforeseen difficulties. Only you can help us. Only you are powerful enough, rare and clever enough. But we will help you, she assured Lainey. We will give you all the succor of our flesh. We shall stand as buffer between you and any grief you might fear to feel. But it must be done. I will have the execution of sacred datura stones.
So like, what's the word when you swoon and shiver at the same time?
Frissons?
Love it. So many Frissons the whole time. And I gather from Twitter more than one person feeling a little flustered by that. Thank you so much. That was wonderful. It's going to be hard to top that. I'm sure Prancy is just rolling in Frissons himself. But what are we trying? What did we vote on?
You will not at all be surprised to hear it was the cat toy.
What? This rainbow cat toy that might attract my cat? You might have heard that. He commented. Okay, I've never done this before, so I'm just going to move my pop filter so you get the full effect. And that. Like kind of crinkly.
That sounds really great. I think.
Right? Actually, I'm like, oh, I wasn't expecting this to work, but my brain feels like kind of prickly and nice.
Definitely works well. Even Prancy. I think
is Prancy feeling a Frisson? I'll do a little bit more.
Yeah, just a little.
That definitely is.
Oh yes.
Did it work?
It did. He says that all of you are giving him Frisson. Your care and your friendship, and definitely the cat toy, have indeed given him a brief moment of emotional excitement.
Huzzah! And I'm feeling an emotional thrill from this as well. I'm going to give this to the cat so he can have his own Frissons. And until next time, thank you so much to all of our readers. Until next time, please don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Ephemera Series. And please subscribe to this YouTube page. We would like to thank the Ontario Arts Council, the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers of America for their funding assistance. And as we close it tonight, we'd also like to thank our fabulous readers and performers, composer Alex White, our friends, families, loved ones, and you. Thank you for staying with us. See you for our next event on February 16th, right here on YouTube.
Good night,
Goodbye.
everyone.